Yosef takes an oath. His father makes a request. He doesn't want to be buried in Egypt, and he adjures him. And Yosef takes the oath. Now, why did Yaakov have to adjure Yosef to take the oath to guarantee he won't be buried in Egypt? So we find, if you take a look, Perek Nun, Pasuk Vav. Perek Nun, Pasuk Vav. Or Pasuk Keg. Ovi Yishbiani Lemor. Yosef says to Paro after the days of mourning were over, my father adjured me, saying, Hine Enochimes Bekivrik Ashicharisi League, Eretz Canaan, Shomatik Bereni. The grave that I had bought in Canaan, there you should bury me. Now I want to go and bury my father there, and I will return. So what does Paro respond? Ascend and bury your father as he adjured you. Yosef says, the reason my father adjured me, I took an oath, and therefore I have to fulfill the oath. So Paro says, he should have said, so go and bury him. So he says, no, go and bury because he took the oath. So Rashi, take a look at Rashi. Kashesh b'yecho, v'mlo b'shvil hashvua, lo yaminicha. Paro says openly, if not to the oath that you take to your father, I would not let you take Yaakov out of Egypt. Avol yori lo ma'avur al hashvur. But he was afraid to say, so violate the oath that you took to your father. Don't keep the oath. Shelo yomar, because then Yosef would say to Paro, imkein avur al hashvur shenishbati loch. If my father, the oath I took my father has no value, and you tell me to violate it, so the oath that I took to you, I will also violate. I will not reveal about Hebrew, the holy tongue that I know, in addition to the 70 languages. It's one language more than you know, more than the 70. And you don't understand that language. So if you're going to tell me to violate the oath I took to my father, I'll violate that oath. So when Paro heard that, he says, I have no choice. It's only because you took an oath to your father, that's what I'm letting, otherwise I wouldn't let you go otherwise. I wouldn't let you go. Firstly, it's interesting. Let's say he didn't take the oath. He doesn't let him go. He could have threatened him, right? You know something? You don't let me go, I'll violate the oath. Why could he say that? My father wants I should bury him. You don't let me take him? I'm violating the oath. It's only because he took the oath. That's the reason why he's saying, I will violate, you want me to violate my oath, I will violate your oath. I mean, if we be put in that position, you'd say, something, I have to do it. If you don't, I'll threaten you. I will violate that. I will reveal that I know one language more. Seems to be no. It's only because if you tell me to violate my oath, then I will violate your oath. You understand? Seemingly even without it. If Paro is doing the wrong thing by withholding Yaakov in Egypt, even if Yosef wouldn't have taken the oath, seemingly Yosef could have said, look, you know something? It's something I have to do, and if you don't, I'm going to reveal that I know one language more than you, and I'll violate the oath. Paro understood, in terms of who Yosef is, Yosef will not violate an oath. If he took an oath, regardless, for any reason, he will not violate that oath. Why? Because it's Chil Hashem. Yosef representing godliness in the world, for him to take an oath, which he's bound to God, for that, how do you violate the oath? It's Chil Hashem. But again, it's only a Chil Hashem because my behavior is inappropriate. But if you don't value that, you say that doesn't bind you. If that's the case, it doesn't bind you. So if it's not binding, so it's not binding. So as you tell me to violate my oath, I'll violate your oath. It's not that then I'm not transgressing. Because with Yosef to Paro, the whole thing is, it's Chil Hashem. But if it's not a Chil, if I'm not, you don't see it as doing the wrong thing because you tell me to violate it, So I'm not doing the wrong thing when I reveal that I know one language more than you, although initially I was bound by an oath. Right? That's what you have to say. Otherwise, either way, I mean, two wrongs don't make a right, correct? The answer is no. It's the whole idea is Chil Hashem. But over here, because Paro's his behavior is unacceptable, because he telling him to violate my oath to my father. So if it's a question of violating an oath or violating your oath, which oath should I violate? I'll violate your oath. That's what Yosef is telling him. But if not for the oath, he can't violate it. He can't violate the oath. He's bound by the oath. So the only reason why Paro is releasing Yaakov is because he was bound. Now, the obvious question is, in Vayigash, it says, when Yaakov was in Beersheba, Hashem comes to him in a dream. He says, Yisrael, Al Tira Meir de Mitzrayim. Don't be fearful going down to Egypt. There you become a great nation. And when you go down, I will go down with you. It's important to see it inside. Memvov, Perak Memvov, Pasuk Beis. V'yomer Elokim liYisrael b'maras halaylo. V'yomer Yaakov. God comes to him in the vision at night. Gimel, V'yomer Anochi Akel Elokei Avicha Al Tira Meir de Mitzrayim. Don't be fearful going down to Egypt. You'll become a great nation there. Anochi Ered Imcha Mitzrayim. I will go down with you to Egypt. V'anochi Alecho Gabalo, and I will bring you up. V'Yosef Yoshis Yodo Aleinecho, and Yosef will Yosef. So Rashi says, Anochi Alcho Hifticho Lios Nikba Boretz. He promised him. He guaranteed him he's going to be buried in the land. So if Hashem promised him and gave him the guarantee he's going to be buried, what does he have to adjure Yosef to make sure that it's carried out? You have the question. If Hashem said coming back, that means Paro will not interfere. There's no way Paro could stop this. God gave Yaakov a guarantee he's coming back. So what are you worried about?
Isn't the oath just the vehicle through which he makes that happen?
What? I can't hear you.
Isn't the oath the vehicle through which the guarantee of Hashem is executed?
This is shtadlus. This is not a shtadlus. We had once explained when it comes to other things, let's say a livelihood, although your yearly stipend is set from Rosh Hashanah, one has to take the initiative, what we call ishtadlus. So the Ramchal explains in the Mesillas Yesharim, because when Adam ate of the Eitz Hadas, there was a curse, b'zeh sapecha toch halechem. By the sweat of the brow you should eat bread. That's a prerequisite to release the stipend. So that's the shtadlus. You have to take initiative to be able to get what's meant to be yours. That's specifically regarding parnasa. That's b'zeh sapecha toch halechem. Hashem gives him, we find by Yaakov, God gives him a promise. You're going, you have nothing. I will watch over you from Esav. And yet, he's worried. So why is Yaakov worried? That the guarantee is not in place? Because he says, maybe Katodim Kolach Hasodim. I've been diminished. Because all. And the word Shem Yigram Achet. Because maybe the sin causes that I'm no longer worthy, that protection is in place. That's why Yaakov had to pray and do whatever he did. I mean, you mean over here, Yaakov was concerned, Shem Yigrum Achet, he went down to Egypt, maybe he's not worthy that he should be returned. Right? Maybe that's the reason. He's not worthy. It's hard to say that because Hashem says, Anochi Imcha, I will go down with you to Egypt, I will bring you back. If Hashem's going down, that means he's worthy. First of all, what Hashem said, I will go down with you. Separate question. Alan, this is important. Okay? Hashem says, Anochi Ered Imcha Mitzrayim. I will go down with you to Egypt, V'anochi Alcha Gamolo, and I will bring you back. And Yosef will be the one who will oversee it. Okay? Now, we asked the question, it says that when Yaakov passed away, The eyes and hearts of the Jews were shut down because of the bondage. So we explained that as long as Yaakov was alive, he deflected everything. It's as if the Jews were not in Egypt. There was no seepage. None of that impurity was able to penetrate, go beyond that. That there was like a wall of spirituality. It couldn't penetrate it. Yaakov passes away. It's starting. There's a level of erosion, spiritual erosion. Their eyes and the level of sensitivity they had that when Yaakov was alive was no longer there. Now the question is why? We asked this question, why? So we had explained where Hashem's presence is at the most intense level. There is no, the Ramchal writes in Derech Hashem, there's only place for Ra when there's a vacuum. If there's a withdrawal of Hashem's presence, then that vacuum allows the evil to penetrate. If Yaakov is the Merkava, if Yaakov is the location of the Shechina in existence, the equivalent of the Kodesh Kadoshim, of the Holy and Holies, and he's the most special of the Ovos, so the level of relationship Yaakov had was greater than Avram Yitzchak that he had with Hashem. So therefore, where he is, the Shechina is, where the Shechina is, no impurity could penetrate that location. Nothing could go there. If that's the case, as long as Yaakov was alive, Egypt was irrelevant. What they represented was irrelevant. That wall is impenetrable. You cannot go through that wall. There was no seepage. Therefore, when did their eyes and their hearts shut down, begin shutting down, that erosion? When Yaakov passed away, that's when it began. Okay? And that's the Parsha Stuma. But you know something? Egypt is such an impure location. Maybe Hashem's not going down there. Even though we say, hey, they are the location of the Shechina, maybe the Shechina is not going there at that level. And therefore, he won't be worthy of that protection. Not he won't be worthy, it's not going to be a reality. Hashem says, don't be fearful going down to Egypt. Anochi ered imcha b'tzoraymo. I will go down with you. As I'm with you here, and you're the Merkava here in Canaan, when you go to Egypt, you'll be no less the Merkava. And because you will be the Merkava, you have nothing to be fearful, because the effect of Egypt won't affect you, it will not affect your family. That's why he's saying, Anochi ered imcha. Then he says, Vanochi alcho gamolo, and I will return with you. Okay? So as long as Yaakov is in Egypt, even after he passes away, the Shechina is where Yaakov's body is. That's where it is. But
Are
once
we speaking on a national level here, or just about Yaakov?
Yaakov himself as a person is the location of the Shechina. Whatever national level. Where he is, where his family is.
No, what I'm saying is when he speaks, said, "Don't worry, I'm coming down with you, but I'll take you up." We're talking about the nation.
No. He personally, as an individual. As an individual.
Why does it say here, "I'll make you a great nation," and then the next pasuk talks about himself?
No. That's how it works. He was afraid if they go down, they're going to be impacted negatively. They're going to go into the oblivion. They'll never come out of there. Yaakov understood his objective is to establish a Klal Yisrael, which is the objective of creation, of existence. We go there, we're going to assimilate. We're gone.
Right.
No. Only because you're going there, that's where you're going to become a great nation, as we explained based on the principle yesterday. That's why. But how does it work? How? I'm going down with you. As long as you're there, I am with you. Therefore, you will set the foundation that the Jews, despite how far they fall, they're coming out. The 17 years of Yaakov were crucial for the Jews to survive that Golus. Because for 17 years, that impurity did not in any way affect the Jews negatively whatsoever. They were fully functional as a spiritual people, as a spiritual family. And that's what he says. Therefore, they will be a Goy Gadol. Because that will be the foundation that I'm going with you and you'll be there for 17 years, that's why there will be that great nation. Otherwise, therefore what? There'll be multitudes of people, but they'll be like anyone else. And the objective is not going to be met. So that's what he says. Goy Gadol Asim Choshem. And what does that mean? I'm going with you to Egypt. But when you leave, it's not going to be the same. That's when the bondage is going to start. That's when the seepage starts. Okay?
Maybe, but then the question still remains: why did
Wait,
he?
I'm not
have
there
to-
yet. I'm not there yet. I just want to explain over here. Okay? So therefore, that's why he said, I'm going down with you, I'm going back. There's this famous word from the Arizal. Hashem says, Ani v'lo maloch ani v'lo sorof. Right? By the time when we left Egypt, right? Ani v'lo I and not a malach, ani lo sorof. So, and this was Makos Bechoros. So the Arizal explains that the impurity of Egypt was so intense that even a malach couldn't survive that impurity of Egypt. This is not now, later. If the Jews already fell, so Hashem says, when I take you out, how? A malach can't go in there. A soraf, which is a saraf, which is even more advanced level of angel. Ani. But where I go, that vaporizes, as I said, it's only a location for evil if there's a vacuum. When Hashem is there, when His presence is there, there's no vacuum. Therefore, everything is vaporized. That's anivelo maloch anilo sorof. So you understand, Yaakov understood what Egypt could be. And because it could be that, it's impossible to survive. No, ani eredimcha mitzrayma. I'm going with you. You're going to set the foundation. Those 17 years are crucial for the survival of the Jewish people, and therefore you will be a goy godel over there. Meaning, ultimately, we're going to leave. Okay? Now,
But if Hashem, I'm sorry, but if Hashem is with Bnei Yisrael in Egypt,
no. With Yaakov.
only with Yaakov.
Once Yaakov leaves, he's not there any longer. He's not there. And that's why when he passed away, that's why it's Pasha Stuma. Now, whatever that is, the leaching starts. It starts penetrating. It starts seeping in. And that was the beginning to bring about the end result of where the Jews ended up. They fell to the Bem Tashari Tuma, to the 49th level of impurity. So getting back, so why did Yaakov need the initiative? Okay? So we had said, Avram Avinu was told, Lech lecha, if you leave the land, you will have children. Yet when he went to Egypt with Sori Menu, he says, Imri noch achosiyot. Right? Because they will kill me if we go and they know you're my wife. So please present yourself as my sister. How could they kill him? Hashem promised him he's going to have children. At that moment, Avram didn't have children yet. So what are you worried about? God gave you a guarantee, promised you that if you do this, you're going to have a family. You're going to have children. What are you worried about? Okay? So what we said then was that, and it's what the Ramban says by the Mabul, God says to Noach, he builds this teva, this ark for 120 years, and he's working. So Rashi cites Chazal, why? If God wanted them to survive the great flood, he could have put them in animated suspension, or he could have taken a little matchbox, because in terms of capacity, the teva could not contain 1/10,000th of what went in there. 2 of every non-kosher species, reptile, domesticated, undomesticated, insects, all went in. How's it possible? Plus 7 of the kosher species. That's to minimize the miracle. When a person thinks about the teva, the people ask, how did it all fit? Doesn't even enter your mind. So by building the teva, it minimizes the obviousness of the miracle. And whenever Hashem prefers that, because if miracles are continuously overt, this undermines one's choice. We have choice because there are other ways to see it. There are alternatives. There are distortions. But if we're so confronted with the reality of Hashem's presence, this interferes with our bechira. Interferes. Therefore, Hashem always works within nature. Therefore, if a person is able to conceal it, to bring about the end result within nature, that's the way you do it. That's the reason why it was the teva, okay? Therefore, if you're able to do something, so Avram surviving Egypt by presenting Sarah as his wife, impossible. Can't survive it. Therefore, you have to take the initiative to conceal it. You conceal it. What happened? All of a sudden, Paro was going to defile Sari Menu. So what happens? Now, the cat's out of the bag. Sari Menu says to the angel, Hach, smite him, she smote him. And Paro recognized right away, there's a miracle taking place. But that's already, it's God's doing. Meaning that guise is not going to work. Why? Because Hashem says, this has to be known. Because what was the end result when Paro realized that this is God's doing? He was he was let to go. I mean, he gave him wealth as a dowry. Paro could have taken it back, right? Paro only gave the wealth because he thought that was his sister. And after he's given this tremendous wealth, he should have taken it back. It was under false pretenses. But he let Avram leave with all the wealth. Why? You know why? Because he saw he was a godly person. Not only did he let him go with the wealth, he gave his daughter Hagar to be a maidservant in the house of Avram. He says, better she should be a maidservant in the household of Avram than a princess in my palace. So that's what the miracle brought about, that he was able to take the wealth. Why was it so important for him to take the wealth? So the Midrash says, Masa Ovasim Lebanim. Just as Avram went to Egypt and he left with great wealth, Klal Yisrael will go to Egypt and they will leave with great wealth. That's the Masa Ovasim Lebanim. So all that, why did Hashem bring it about? He went, all this. And why did he not take back the wealth? Because he saw it was God's doing. Paro recognized that. Because it was important. Avram has to leave with the wealth. You hear? Avram has to leave with the wealth. Why does Avram have to leave with the wealth? Because going forward, hundreds of years in the future, the Jews are going to go to Egypt and they have to leave with wealth. Because that was the promise that Hashem had made to Avram of Achen Yetzu B'chush Gadol. So the only way he would allow him to keep that wealth at this point is only if he sees he's a godly person. And he sees it's a schus, it's a merit that he should take it. Because not only did he let him go with the wealth, he even gave his daughter to be a maidservant in the household of Avram. So initially, you have to take the initiative. It's the same thing. For Yaakov to be taken out of Egypt, it's a miracle. You know why? They would have deified him. The people wouldn't have allowed it. There would have been an uprising. So therefore, Yaakov says, I'm going to adjure you. Because in the future, if Paro would not allow you, you're permitted to violate that oath. Because if he didn't keep his word, you don't have to keep your word to him. And therefore, there's no way he's going to keep you back. Guaranteed I'm out. How's it going to work? It'll work out that you don't have to worry about it. You've done yours. Because you can't do more than that. So that exactly is to minimize the obviousness of the miracle. Because for Paro to let him out, it's unheard of. Because the famine ceased to be. When did the famine stop? When Yaakov came to Egypt. It's very interesting.